Hi, my name is Chadwick. Today I'm going to share with you 3 important ways on using the brightness contrast node to actually control transparency on the Fusion page of DaVinci Resolve. Now, the first thing I would think of is actually overall transparency of the output of a node. A lot of tools have what's called a blend slider, which controls opacity of like the foreground layer, but some don't. Like time speed, if you pull the freeze frame, it won't. So let me show you how this works. Shift space BC, that's going to add a brightness contrast node. I'll load that over into the viewer. What you want to do is in the inspector, enable the A for alpha slider, and then you just drag the gain slider down to 0. Basically, this is multiplication. Gain is multiplication, so we're multiplying by 0 on all channels over there. So you can see you can easily animate this over time. So if I brought this back to 1, set a keyframe, when a few frames later, brought it down to 0, you've essentially cleared this out. So maybe you have some part of your comp that you only want valid for certain frames. This is the way you can turn it off downstream. Now, next up, I want to talk about stenciling, because I did a whole course recently on in-painting that I encourage you to check out. This is a great way to use the same technique to stencil out a shape. So I always like to look at my original source when I draw a shape. I'm going to let's grab a polygon tool. Maybe you want to get rid of the stars from the stars and stripes from this flag over here. I would just draw a shape around them. Shift O will close that up. And then the reason I do this unattached and I don't plug it right into the media and source is I've cut away all my original source pixels. That's generally a bad idea. I like to do this all downstream of media ends and loaders. So I've got my mask here. Let's grab another brightness contrast tool. Right from my toolbar up there, I'll feed my source into it. I'll feed my polygon into the brightness contrast, and I'll just turn on the alpha, drag the gain down to 0, and now we've cut a stencil. So if you want a quick and dirty on how we could fill this in with the edge colors, Clean Plate will do that. So shift space Clean Plate tool. And the Clean Plate tool has a special garbage matte input. So if we drag that to it's like a whitish gray Clean Plate input, say fill, we basically infilled that. Again, check out the course I have on painting because there's a lot more to this. Now, what if you want the opposite of the stencil and you just want to roto the shape so you can lay it back on top of the original later on? Easy to do, of course, right? Just another brightness contrast tool. And on this one, we'll do the same steps as before. We'll turn on the alpha, drag the gain down to 0. We'll drag our footage on into that node. And on this one, I'm going to do something different. Why don't we take the entire American flag? So I'll grab a polygon tool, click, make a nice shape around all of it. This time, instead of just the stars, Shift O to close it. And this time, what I want to do is I actually want to invert it before applying it to the brightness contrast mask input. Once I do that, you'll see we've cut out the mask. So to do the roto, I'm going to invert this first. To do the stencil, I won't invert it. Now, there's a couple other shortcuts. If you don't want to use the alpha and the gain slider, you'll notice brightness contrast and a lot of other nodes on the settings tab also have these options that are called multiply by mask and apply mask inverted. You could certainly do that as well and forego this whole gain slider. I just think it's nice to use, and I also think it's nice to have all your settings, if someone else jumps into it, on the main controls page. Hopefully that's super helpful. My name is Chadwick again. I'm a DaVinci Resolve master trainer based here in New York. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.